Lesson on 17.2 and 17.3. We'll be adding and subtracting polynomial expressions. Combine the lesson because I thought was close enough topic. All right, let's get started, guys. To this essential question, how do you add or subtract polynomials? Very straightforward. We just add the numbers. That's all we do, right? So it says use the vertical format to find the sum. And that is actually the format that I don't mind at all. So you generally want to have the number in a descending order, and which it is, the standard form, right? Descending order. So notice that this is like second, first, and nothing, which is 0, 2, 1, 0, right? So what you want to do is literally copy 5x squared plus 2x minus 1 and match the terms in each one. And we're adding them. I like to have that little parentheses around so that I'm indicating I'm doing the addition operation, right? And what you are doing is you want to add simply because they are like terms. Do you see that here, guys? They'll match. So all you're doing is just adding the values, numerical values. 5 plus 4 is 9x squared, 2 minus 1, right? That's the invisible 1 right there. And that is 1x, or you could just write x. And then -1 plus 2 is +1, and we are done. Okay. And how about B? Once again, we're going to write descending order, which it already is in. And for the second one, there's no cube. So there's a square. So what you need to do, you know what I should have done? Just put an empty space right there. So that y squared goes over here. That's -1 like this. So there should be like an invisible space holder, right? Like you don't have to do this, right? Like what I wrote in gray, but you should be thinking that in your mind, right? You just make sure that it's in descending order. Otherwise, I've seen students make mistakes, and always indicate what you're doing, that you're looking for a sum. So that's nothing to add over here, right? So you're adding this. Let me actually go back and slide it over. There you go. You're adding that, and that, right? So when you do that, what do you end up with? That's 3y cubed plus y squared plus 2y. That adds to 0, and we are done. Okay. Now, it's asking you to write this in a vertical format. You know what? Let me change the direction. Let's make it horizontal, which is the way that we would probably do it most of the time. So you got 5x squared plus 2x minus 1, and that's plus. Let's put big parentheses over here, guys, okay? Here, visually, what you should be thinking is, okay, the first one is the x squared, the second one is the x, and then comes the constant terms over here, right? The number by itself is called the constant terms. So in your mind, we're adding a bunch of x squares, a bunch of x's, and a bunch of constants. So what are the x squares? That's 5 and a 4. What are my x's? That's 2 and the -1. And that's -1 plus 2, isn't it? Right. Remember, I do that in the order which I'm going to do. 1 underline, 2 underline, 3 underlines, right? And when you combine them, this comes out to 9x squared plus 1x, or just x plus 1. All right. Here we go. Second one. Same thing. So here, 3y cubed plus 2y plus 1, add this. Now, what do they have in common? Well, they got nothing in common except these two. See that? So because there's nothing to add, just copy it down then, right? 3y squared. And then what's the next one? Yeah, plus y squared plus 2y. Just go in descending order so you don't miss anything. right? We got the cube, right? We got the square, we got the first power. You know what? And then -1 plus 1 is 0, so we are done in this case. All right, guys. We got some. Your turn. Go ahead and work on this one, please. All right. I trust that you finished. If not, pause the video. Here we go. Here's the correct answer. All right. Next question. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention earlier. Whenever you see last name, first name, always write down your name. All right. Today, I feel like. What do I feel like? Johnson, John. I feel like a John Johnson. All right. JJ. So here we go. We have a box company owns two factories in two different parts of the country. Profit for each factory is modeled by a polynomial with X representing the number of boxes and sold by adding the polynomials. The two models needs in two situations are provided. Okay, so there's a big fancy, a lot of words, but essentially they were asking us to add this and this, right? Okay. So let's write that horizontally. Negative 0.03 x squared plus 20x minus 500 plus negative 0.04 x squared plus 25x minus 1,000. So we got to add the squares, the first powers, and you know what? Let's go squiggly right there. Okay. So we're just adding the coefficients, right? So we are adding a bunch of coefficients with x squared, bunch of x's, and bunch of numbers like that, right? So this negative 0.03 plus, or we could say negative, plus the negative or negative, 0.04. That gives you negative 0.07 x squared, right? And for the x's, is that 20 and 25? Yeah, that gives you 45x. And the numbers are negative 500 and a minus 1,000, which gives you minus 1,500. Now, once again, now is it possible for you to just go from here to here? I wouldn't do that if I were you, because if you get anything wrong, I can't give you credit because I don't know what you're thinking. What you're trying to do is demonstrate to me you know how to do this, right? So learn how to show work. Okay. All right. B. Company plans to open a third factory with that. What would be the projected profit? Uh, well, if you sort of think about this, then is what will be the total, right? Is that total is going to be sum of the first two plus a third that we're given, right? Well, the first one that we have, let me not copy it. I'm just gonna copy, paste over here. And I'm going to squeeze it in a little tighter. There you go. You know, it might have been quicker if I just wrote it. All right. So that's the first one, first two, right? Plus the third is what? And let me slide the whole thing a little bit to the left right there. Hopefully I can squeeze it in now. Is negative 0.03 x squared plus 50x minus 100 like this, right? Well, once again, I'm adding bunch of x squares, bunch of x's with bunch of numbers. I got negative 0.07 minus 0.03 I think that adds to negative 0.1 x squared, right? And then, okay, there x squared right here, x's, and we got the squiggly single. Sorry, I meant to say constants. So for x terms, it would be 45 and a 50, right? So that gives me 95x. And that's negative 1500 minus 100, which gives me negative 1600. Excellent. All right, guys. So there it is. Do me a favor. Oh, sorry. Let me pause for a second. Perhaps some of you guys want to copy it down. There you go. Yeah, if you feel like I'm going too fast on a video, just pause the video so you can copy the numbers down. All right, guys. Your turn. Pause the video, work on it for a few minutes, and then check to see if you got it right. Right? We have a built-in practice, little quizzes, right? All right, guys. Here we go. That's the correct answer. Okay. All right. So the next one is lesson performance task. Yeah, let's not do that. I'm gonna do it in class. Okay, let's jump to subtracting polynomials. All right. So we are looking for a subtraction, and we are looking for what here to find the difference. Difference is a subtraction. Okay, here we go. Similar to earlier, we're just going to copy it in vertical format, 5x squared plus 2x minus 1 minus 4x squared minus x plus 2. You got to be very careful over here, guys, okay? So when you're looking at this, we're actually looking at these two, and these two. It is the top minus the bottom. So the first one is 5 minus 4, right? Which will yield you 1x squared. And the second one is 2 minus 1, isn't it? So that'll give you 3x. And the third is minus 1 minus 2, which is negative 3. Okay? All right. So it's the top coefficient minus the bottom coefficient. If I bother to write it myself, you should write it yourself as well. Okay? Be sure to copy that down, please. Okay? All right. Let's do one more. There you go. So this one's going to be 3y cubed plus 2y plus 1. I should rewrite that. Minus, realize there's no y squared. Okay, so y squared minus 1. So you don't have to do what I'm going to do right now, but it's kind of like having 0y squared, 0y cubed plus 0y. Okay, you don't have to fill in the information. I did for the teaching purposes. So this right here is what we call a placeholder. Make sure you give it a little space, right? Yeah. So we vertically do a 3 minus 0, which is 3y cubed. That's a 0. Okay, so you gotta be careful here, guys. 0 minus 1. 0 minus 1 is minus 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. Minus 1 minus minus 1, right? That's a positive 2. And we're done. And the 1b, yeah, it says vertical, but it should be horizontal. All right. Let's do the same exact question in a horizontal fashion. So it's 5x squared plus 2x minus 1 minus 4x squared minus x plus 2. Remember, we are matching the like terms like this. All right. So here we go. So that is what I like to do here, that's a 5 minus 4 x squared. The x is a 2 minus minus 1, which is plus 1. And then the last one is minus 1 minus a minus 2, right? So which gives me x squared plus 3x minus 3. Okay. The next one, we basically do the same thing, right? That is a 3y cubed plus 2y plus 1 minus y squared minus 1. Now, if I zoom in, I only care about the ones that match, actually, right? The only thing that matches are these two. Everything else we copy, but be very careful, right? 3y cubed, but this is right here is minus y squared, okay? And then we got the 2y, and now what we have is 1 minus minus 1, isn't it? Which makes it positive 2. Okie dokie. All right, guys. So we got your turns over here. Please work on it quietly. You don't have to be quiet. Please pause the video, though. Okay. I mean, if you're at home, you could do whatever you want, but in the classroom. All right. Here is the answer. All right, guys. That will conclude today's lesson. I'll see you again in the next lesson. Okay. Have a good night.